of the DKG membership in Ohio and throughout the DKG nation. We, the Expansion Committee, would like to express our sincere thanks to all of you for coming tonight to learn about our current journey into new chapter chartering. We plan to break our presentation into 4 segments. Our first segment, team member Linda Deltz of Beta Rho, yeah, there she is, she just waved at you, chapter will present, ladies, this is your wake-up call, a grim statistic. In the second segment, Barb Aid, Barb, you can wave, yeah. She is from Gamma Pi chapter and will be giving you a brief history of what the 2021 to 2025 expansion team has been up to for the past 4 years. Yes, this team has been together for the past 4 years. And the past 2 bienniums. And chartering a chapter has become very personal to us. And it is our quest to get one chartered here sooner or later. I will be covering the third segment. I am Diana Kirkpatrick of Alpha Delta chapter and will be explaining exactly where we are right now, explain where we are in the process of chartering the Adams County chapter and where we are in regards to our other growing Ohio membership activities. And if you haven't noticed, Annie Webb Blanton, also known as Karen Dombrowski of Alpha Nu chapter, and Margaret L. White, better known as Molly Thorpe Allen of Alpha Psi chapter, will close out segment 4 with what do we need to do. By the way, ladies, we will be happy to answer any and all of your questions as we go along. Just simply jot them down and we will get to them during our planned discussion period at the end of our presentation. Well, the clock is ticking, so let's get started. Okay, Linda, you are on.
Need to turn your sound on, Linda.
Well, here I am again. If you recall, I attended the 2023 OSO State Convention and shared some mighty grim statistics with you about the declining number of DKG members and chapters in Ohio. Well, we have yet to turn the corner on that. The Viewpoint article in the 2024 Volume 90 issue of Collegial Exchange addresses the membership crisis DKG is currently experiencing. At the June 2023 officers training session in Dallas, Texas, the following statistics were shared. In 1929, DKG was started by Dr. Annie Webb Blanton with 11 members. By 1939, 10 years later, DKG had grown to over 10,000 members. In 1991, DKG membership peaked at over 168,000 members. By June 2023, DKG membership had decreased to just under 52,000. 4 months later, DKG membership had decreased to under 50,000 members. The authors of this article, Helen Ballin and Donna Faye Medosing, estimate that at this rate, if this continues, by the year 2038, Delta Kappa Gamma will cease to exist. This is an alarming fact. You might be wondering how the numbers look for the state of Ohio. The following statistics came from the milestones document on the OSO website and from our OSO treasurer, Diana Haskell. In 1938, Dr. Annie Webb Blanton initiated 16 founders to charter Alpha Delta State. By 1953, DKG membership in Ohio had grown to 3,340 members in 64 chapters. By 1968, membership had grown to 5,908 members in 93 chapters. By 1980, membership had grown to over 8,000 with 120 chapters. In 1994, the first chapter in Ohio was dissolved. In 2013, membership had dropped to 4,753 members in 98 chapters. The March 2025 issue of The Voice lists membership in Ohio at 2,451 in 67 chapters. Ladies, this is a crisis. In Ohio, we currently have 26 counties with no DKG chapter. Some of those counties have over 1,000 teachers. The total number of teachers in counties with no DKG chapter is over 9,000 and possibly much more. Of course, not all those educators are women, but it is safe to say that OSO is missing out on a huge number of key women educators from those counties. Ladies, this is a crisis. In 2029, Delta Kappa Gamma International will celebrate 100 years as a professional organization of key women educators. What will the organization look like in 4 years? Will the number of members and chapters continue to decline? What can all of us as current members do to help grow Delta Kappa Gamma and Ohio State organization? Ladies, we need to work together to turn this around.
Grim Reaper, those statistics are very, very sad and grim indeed for Delta Kappa Gamma, and it seems conditions are not getting any better. Now, here is Barb Aid with a bit of our team history.
Thanks to the Grim Reaper for her valuable input of statistics. I am here to tell you and our members about what our team has been doing since August of 2021. When we first began, we formulated 5 goals for our group. Number 1, to organize, develop, and implement a model for expanding DKG Ohio's membership. Number 2, to coordinate our efforts with the Ohio membership and marketing committees. Number 3, to explore the possibility of increasing the number of members on the expansion committee to include 1 representative from each region in Ohio. Number 4, to identify geographic areas for new chapter development. And number 5, to develop, produce, and utilize resources to promote DKG Ohio to potential members in those geographic areas identified for new membership. The Expansion Committee of OSO was formed in August 2021 in order to enhance membership through chartering new DKG chapters throughout Ohio. It has been almost 30 years since the last DKG chapter was chartered in this state. The committee has been working together through the last 2 biennium, and here is what we have done during that time. Initially, we contacted the expansion chairs from California, Texas, North Carolina, and Illinois. These 4 states had been successful in expanding their membership and chartering new chapters. California was most helpful. In the early going, we had a Zoom meeting with Daphne Cagle, California's state expansion chair. She talked about what we needed to do in order to begin our expansion. The first thing we had to do was create policies and procedures for new chapters. We needed to make sure our guidelines meshed with international and state rules. We knew our state bylaws would have to be amended for us to proceed. After reading through California's documents, our committee began the drafting process for Ohio's expansion. Following that, we knew we had to identify where we would target our efforts. That led us to examine the OSO area map. After careful deliberation, we decided to increase the number of areas from 5 to 9. This would make it easier for area leaders to only be in charge of a smaller geographic area so that they would be able to better be able to mentor the developing chapters in their area. In map development, we found a number of Ohio counties that did not have any DKG chapters. We called these our desert target areas for expansion. We also knew we had to come up with a marketing plan that would attract active women educators to DKG. Recruitment packets were created that included a brochure, the Journey for Life trifold, the recruitment card, a social media card, and reasons why you should belong to DKG. Our state marketing director, Katie Gantz, webmaster, Eileen McNally, and OSO voice editor, Kathy Tenney, helped us with these projects. Our committee also developed letters to school district administrators, a letter to potential members, and we worked on an orientation program for prospective members. Toward the end of the 21-23 biennium, we learned of 2 possible areas where new chapters were being requested. So we worked diligently on our presentations, sent out membership packets, and geared up over the summer of 2022 in preparation for orientation. The Adams County contact is active. The other potential new chapter in Huron County has been tabled. So by the end of the 21-23 biennium, the expansion committee met most of the goals we had set at the outset. July 2023, and the expansion committee team decided to stay together in hopes the Adams County new chapter would come to life. The first in-person orientation took At the same time, we will begin looking in other directions of the state to find potential chapters. Also, we will be looking at other ways to attract new members to our group.
Thanks for the history, Barb. It does remind me of all that we have been through for sure. In preparing this presentation, I was struggling as to what to bring before you first, the discouraging news or the good news. I finally decided to begin with the good news and then present you with the discouraging or unpleasant news last. The good news, ladies, is in spite of not yet chartering a chapter, the E-Team plans to continue its mission in building a vision of chartering chapters across the state of Ohio. In the months ahead and into the 2025-27 biennium, the E-Team, I call them my E-Team, because they're excellent, but they also, it's shorter than saying expansion every time. In the months ahead, the E-Team will also focus on moving forward with the identification of other counties void of DKG chapters. At a late fall team meeting last year, the E-Team, after considerable discussion, made the decision to designate the Delaware County school districts as our next locale to engage and pursue key women educators to join DKG Ohio. And I'll show you the map again so you can look at it. Okay, here is Delaware. It has no chapters, and if you'll notice, there are no chapters in the actually there's 5 counties that surround. So ladies, that would be a very good place for us to start. Okay, I've lost my place already. Okay. Delaware County is a desert area, as you can see. And there are 5 other desert counties that surround that county as well. This desert area is vast, and certainly an untapped opportunity for OSO to explore for potential DKG members to charter new chapters. The Delaware County school system consists of 3 local school districts, 1 city school district, and 1 career center. So it is our hope that after state convention, we will begin in earnest to organize and develop our Delaware County chartering plans. Getting interested educators to assist us will be our first major hurdle. So if any of you out there know anybody in Delaware County or any of those other surrounding counties, let us know their names. So that would be very helpful in our effort to get an opening into those different schools. If all goes well, it is our hope to put into action a plan by early fall. Getting school personnel and educators to follow through has been an immense roadblock and a detriment for our team. It surely does slow things down for us. You will be hearing more information in the months to come. I'll stop sharing. For the months to come. And just know that in the meantime, we will be hard at work to be successful in this additional chapter chartering venture. Now, for the discouraging or unpleasant news as to what is happening in chartering a new chapter in Adams County. Well, ladies, believe me when I say I don't relish telling you the following news, but it is important for us as a team to be completely upfront and transparent in our efforts when it comes to our chartering journey. Admittedly, our process has taken much longer and has been even slower to make successful gains. More difficult than we ever anticipated. I guess we were all kind of Pollyannas and thought, whiz bang, we'd be done and we'd have a chartered. But we learned it takes almost 2 years, if not more, to get a chapter chartered, except in maybe California where Daphne Kegel is at work and she's got it down pat for sure, the process. At this point, we are pretty much at a standstill, or dead in the water, as one of our team members said out loud with frustration the other day. Now, how did we get here and how did we arrive at this point? The following information is a brief commentary as to what has transpired since working to charter a chapter in Adams County. From the very beginning, we worked methodically to get all of our ducks in a row. We wanted everything in order before making our first pitch to ask women educators of Ohio to join DKG Ohio. With an immense amount of time expanded and invested teamwork, we dotted all of our I's, crossed all of our T's, and then some, so we thought. We worked diligently to formulate a comprehensive presentation to the Adams County educators. And on July 26, 2023, we did just that, a first face-to-face meeting with 8 guests in attendance, which resulted in 5 educators committing to DKG Ohio. The team then made 4 more presentations via Zoom. We weren't ready to give up yet, ladies. And that yielded 3 more commitments, bringing our total to 8. Ohio's bylaws requires that we have 12 to even begin a chartering process. Unfortunately, those 4 meetings, we had very low attendance. With each additional Zoom event, we made additional revisions to our script. We'd made subsequent efforts to condense our information and materials. Plus, we wanted to make the presentation timely. In other words, we didn't want them to sit there for hours listening to us about DKG, although we could talk about that for hours. Now, when our first presentation, I think we threw in everything but the kitchen sink. It took us about 2.5 hours. Now, it was in the summer and the girls, they weren't pressed for time or didn't seem to be pressed for time. But I think in our effort to be thorough, it was too much information. So that's the reason we kept paring down some of our information that we presented. Throughout the entire process, and I'm sure you can you will know exactly what it's like because you've been through this before. We hear from those teachers, listen, ladies, I'm not a joiner, so don't ask me to come. I don't have enough time, or I can't afford the time commitment. I am way overextended now and can't afford one more obligation. And my other responsibilities have to come first. Well, I think I'll just wait until this chapter gets started to see if it's an organization I want to join. Does any of that sound familiar, ladies? I know you have heard the same things when you have gone through your membership recruiting for your chapter. We also wrote letters and invited all of the women educators employed around the county to attend our Zoom presentations. We had no one respond. Linda Diltz wrote a letter to the North Adams High School principal to rally his support. We never received a response. And believe me, that was very disconcerting and disappointing to say the least, because we had a very nice conversation with a gentleman at our July 26th meeting. He seemed to be very excited and supportive of what we were doing. And then not to get a response, it kind of burst our bubble a little bit. We requested the teachers who had already committed to invite and bring a friend to each of the subsequent Zoom meetings. Very little or very few did. On the surface, it appears that the interest is not there. Or is it a lack of interest? Is the lack of interest an indication that the women educators are simply just too busy these days? We also had problems with school personnel and educators following through with what we asked them to do, because we couldn't do that. What had to be done, they had to do it. What should have taken 2 or 3 days to accomplish, or maybe a week, sometimes took 2, 3, 4 weeks to accomplish. Perhaps we needed to be a little more patient. I don't know. We even thought that perhaps the age of the expansion team or the E-team might be a possible deterrent for getting young educators to join. Now think about it, ladies. Most of us in Ohio are retired. Now I don't, but if I didn't color my hair, I would have gray hair. So I'm not sure, young teachers and even collegiate members, if they would come into an organization or meeting with all us gray-haired ladies, whether they would think, oh, is this something I want to join? I don't know, but it was a thought of ours. Now, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, and there is a glimmer of hope on the horizon for the Adams County Chartering Project. We have received word from International granting us the ability to induct collegiate members as actual charter members of a new chapter. We are hopeful it will help us solve the numbers problem that we have in Adams County. We are now working on a prospect of recruiting junior and senior collegiate members, as well as creating the process of how to go about it. Now we have Shawnee State University, which is located in Scioto County, which is just east, I believe, of Adams County. In other words, their borders are come together. And we have one of the committed members of the 8 that we have is a professor in the College of Education at Shawnee State. And we are going to get with her to see if we can enlist her help to getting our juniors and senior education members to join the Adams County new chapter. We haven't asked them yet, but we're in the process of doing that. Throughout the past 4 years, the E-team has had many frank conversations and certainly in-depth discussions about our chartering process. We constantly analyzed and evaluated our progress and process to make sure that we were doing what we needed to do and to refine what, if anything, that needed to be done. We recently have come to the realization that we actually need to do more to appeal to the active and collegiate generation. Because after all, they are our future. We discussed the need to develop a better handle on what it takes to recruit the younger generation of educators. We have discussed exploring the idea of bringing together a group of active teachers plus junior and senior collegiate students in the College of Education for an in-depth discussion about what their needs and wants are. We are considering a possible group interaction at Shawnee State University. We want to be able to ascertain and get the answers to the following. What would make active teachers and potential collegiate members join OSO DKG? We know our own personal perspective and what it is and why we continue to be members of Delta Kappa Gamma. But what are they actually looking for from a professional organization? What do we as an organization have to offer? Is our message clear in our presentation? What needs to be the key message to our potential members? We need to answer why join DKG, which we thought we have, but we're unsure now, and answer what is it in it for them. As a team, we thought we had previously answered all of the above questions for ourselves before developing our BM member presentation, but now we are questioning ourselves. Have we missed the mark? And if so, what did we do wrong, or where did we go wrong? Well, ladies, that is where we are at the moment, at a standstill. Not a good place to be, and unfortunately, not where we want or wanted to be. I think we're experiencing some growing pains, but it is what it is. Being the optimist that I am, I never dreamed that we would be in this current position, never even contemplated possible failure or a roadblock as one of our stepping stones. And yet here we are at the crossroads trying to figure out, where do we go from here? What will be our next steps? Or in what direction do we need to go? Our team has talked for hours and hours. Actually, we've talked a lot and probably till we're blue in the face to try to come up with a viable remedy for our situation. But at this moment, what we actually feel we need is a fresh set of eyes, some new creative thinking and input, a jump start, if you will, from all of you out there. It is important to remember, and yes, it is stressful for me to keep mulling this idea over in my mind, we have the future of DKG Ohio in our hands. So ladies, our question to you is, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? Think about that for a little while, and we will definitely get back to you at the end of our presentation for a frank conversation. But first, let's hear from Miss Annie Webb Blanton and Miss Margaret L. White. Let's listen carefully to these two great leaders of DKG and what they both have to say to us. Hey, girls, where are you? Annie, where are you? Margaret?
Well, Annie, I've been thinking lately about how we began this journey.
It was men. They viewed us as second-class citizens. I was enrolled at the University of Texas as a special student for 5 years without getting credit. I was finally permitted to enter the junior year as a regular candidate for my degree, but it took from 1890 to 1899 to get my degree.
Well, I am so grateful that when I began my studies at the university, that you were there to guide and mentor me.
You are such a talented writer of textbooks for children, and such an organized person. Where did you get all those talents?
Well, I got them from my mother, Mrs. Ernest White. She was an honorary member of Delta Kappa Gamma. Annie, how did you think to come up with the idea to begin Delta Kappa Gamma?
Oh, all goes back to the men. As women were not permitted to get scholarships or any recognition for our successes, we couldn't even be part of a professional group. We could only belong to a social sorority. We deserved scholarships and recognition too. On May 11th, 1929, 11 women plus myself began Kappa Gamma Delta. It was a totally secret group. When other women were invited to join, the invitations were signed with the letters KGD. Funny thing, Kappa Gamma Delta was a men's aeronautics society. I changed the name to Delta Kappa Gamma. It was chartered under that name on August 15th, 1929.
You were such a risk taker. You were the first woman elected president of the State Teachers Association, state superintendent of public instruction, first woman elected to a public office in Texas, and you even made an unsuccessful bid for U.S. Congress.
I hated to see you leave Texas, Margaret.
Well, I had a great opportunity before me. I became the supervisor of elementary English in the Cleveland Public School System in Ohio.
Your leaving gave me an idea. I enlisted your help to introduce Delta Kappa Gamma to the state of Ohio. With your help, Ohio became the 28th state to begin Delta Kappa Gamma chapters. On January 22nd, 1938, you were initiated as one of the 16 original founders in Ohio. You became the first state president in Ohio and the first president of Alpha Chapter in Cuyahoga County. Alpha Chapter was the very first chapter chartered in Ohio.
It was not an easy task with the other founders and a great deal of hard work. We organized 10 chapters in 1938, and within 2 years, we had 58 chapters in Ohio. Our dues were $3, and the scholarship fee was $1. You know, Annie, I wonder what the future will hold for Delta Kappa Gamma. Do you think it will prosper and grow? I hope ladies of the future will remember the society was established to aid and support women educators.
Ladies, what do you think Annie and Margaret would think of us today? Within 2 years of the first chapter chartered, Ohio had 58 chapters. We grew to 120 chapters by 1980, and now we have 67 chapters in 2025. 5 chapters less than we had in 2023. Our question to you is, how do we correct this, and where do we go from here? Ladies, remember, we have the future of DK Ohio in our hands.
Thank you, ladies. Thanks, Annie and Margaret. I've got a little familiar with their names, haven't I? Should say Miss Blanton and Miss
White.
Margaret. Yes. Now, this was the very first part of our presentation, is to give them some historical background as to who Annie Webb Blanton was and who Margaret L. White was. So you just got a glimpse of our first segment of our presentation. But she does have a good question for us. Now, do any of you have questions, comments, or thoughts for us? And don't all speak at once. Okay, go ahead, Patty.
Okay. Anybody that knows me knows I'm going to talk.
That's
So
all right. We're good.
your Adams people, that's very exciting. You've got 8 potential members. Have you considered making them state members, which would allow them to be part of Ohio State and the international organization? And if you did that, then they see what Delta Kappa Gamma is and become a part of it, and it can then hopefully encourage their friends to join as well, which then they could become an independent chapter. Okay. So
Yeah.
that's one. The International Membership and Expansion Committee met like a week and a half ago in Austin. And one of the things that we developed was 10 steps of establishing a collegiate chapter community. Okay. Right now they have to be called communities because per our Constitution, they cannot be a chapter. I think, Diana, you and I talked several years ago because I was the expansion chairman of Texas.
Oh, okay.
But, you know, bottom line, we have really figured out the collegiate idea. This way, even your chapters that are near Ohio State, Ohio University, and all your other schools that offer teacher prep programs could start that. Okay. And so that would also help, one, increase your membership, but two, increase your visibility, as you have said about younger members, wanting younger members. The committee's currently redesigning Journey for Life. So we will get that out to you once it's done, but it's going to be a little more modern. Use language that younger educators maybe want to hear, which does help. So most of our younger ones are interested in scholarships.
Mhm.
I don't know if you have state scholarships.
Oh, yeah. We have
But
a foundation.
good, excellent. Okay.
ESOEF, yes.
So they're interested in scholarships. But what we have found here in Texas is they're really interested in mentoring. They need mentors. They're afraid to go into the classroom. They need somebody to kind of give them some guidance and help them. And that's where the collegiate communities have really done well because they meet independently as a group of young women pre-service teachers, but then they also meet with the chapter a couple times a year so that they get that mentoring.
So
And the
is that
chapter,
kind of like a chapter within a
yes, ma'am. It's like
chapter
a
within a
chapter within a
chapter?
chapter. Exactly. And so they're meeting independently with their liaison. That's a university person. And the liaison works between the established chapter and the liaisons. Okay. If you will give me your email address, I will send you all the things that we've created. And I'm going to tell you, it's not out there yet because we're planning to do that in New Orleans when we do the state leadership training in New Orleans this summer. But I will share it with you because I know you all are excited and you want to get this going. 2.5 hours for an orientation is way, way too long, as I think you figured out.
Right.
Really, they don't need much more than an hour. Okay.
Which is what we
And
have pared it down to is an hour.
right. And so that's really important. But you know, making them a state member lets them come to your
Well, we did
conferences, your
consider, well, we had,
conventions.
yeah, we are considering state membership. As soon as we got the 12, we were going to make them state members. Until they got their, number that they needed for a treasurer and stuff like that. And then we could go ahead and transfer from state member to a chapter. So, I mean, we had thought of that, but I had not thought of doing the 8.
Do the
Yes.
8. Don't
State
because
Don't wait.
these
Yeah.
8 are interested in your organization, in the organization. So
Well,
you
we hope
don't-
they still are.
Yes, but that's the point. You don't want to leave them hanging.
Right.
Okay. And so
Yes.
if you offer them state dues, which would involve paying international dues of $40 and whatever your state dues are. Okay.
30. Yeah.
Okay. So they would pay $53 to join. And then and with all of them knowing, hey, as soon as you get 12, we'll make you an independent chapter. But right now, at least you're a part of our organization, and they can come to your conventions, your
Right.
conferences, whatever it is that you offer. They'll get your publications. They'll get everything from DKG International. And so then they start to understand what this organization is. And that could be a real saving grace for your Adams people.
Right.
It really could.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you will put your address in the chat or tell me what it is, your email, I will send you the information on collegians.
Okay. It's kirkpatrickdiana@gmail.com.
Okay.
And Patty, by doing it that way, I'm thinking that increases their time as a member that could apply towards
For
scholarship.
scholarships.
Right. Right.
Because, we voted for that last summer in National Harbor, that collegiate members from the day they join, if they are a member their junior and senior year, and then they become an active member, that's the 3 years, and then they
Right.
start being eligible. And that's huge. That's because a lot of the young ones are realizing that if they go back to school, before they get married, before they have children, it's an easier way to do it. So they're working on certifications or master's degrees or whatever, and they need help. They need financial help. And so if you've got a foundation that can offer scholarships, then that's something else you can look at. Maybe local chapters in the area could also come visit them once in a while, or invite them to meetings, if there's something close to them that they could attend. But yeah, I would definitely make them state members. As soon as you started talking, I'm like, yeah, we don't want to lose these 8,
Right.
and that would go through like your executive secretary, or even Diana, your treasurer, would know how to do that.
Right.
And yeah, and I think that would be a real boost, and it would make you all feel like all the work you've done is amazing. But then this way, hey, we got 8 new ones, and there's just 4 more.
Right. That's
Yeah.
what we're saying. It's just, certainly there's 4 more individuals around here.
Exactly.
We would be able to-
Exactly. But if they are a part of the organization, it's easier to get their friends to join, because they can say, look at this collegial exchange. Look at these fabulous articles that are relevant to me as a younger member. Look at,
Right.
the DKG news, and it's telling all kinds of information. So and then your Ohio State newsletters and whatnot, it really will help them to truly understand the organization.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. I'll have Hannah first, and then Molly, I'll have you.
Okay, I just wanted to say, I only retired a year ago, and when I was teaching my methods courses, especially the easiest one was in math, I had all my students join the professional organization, which was OCTM. And so when you talk to that Swanee education director, see how they can intertwine this within their structure. And for the first 2 or 3 years, it was paid for by the college, actually, for them to join, because it was only $10. So it was professional, and we used them. They came up and they did presentations. They presented at our conference that was up locally. So we were involved with that. And what do we have to offer? We have money. And these young ones need money. And so we might look at how easy is it to get the money, from us. We might look at new application processes and stuff like that. So those are the two things. But oh, the other thing, Pam Martin in our chapter used to attend a state meeting of teachers that were of instructors that were teaching in the student teaching area.
Mhm.
They gathered all the time. So I'm wondering if maybe a table could be at that type of, it was an event. I'll ask her a little bit more and get it to you.
Yes, get us the information and we can see what we can do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Well,
That's it.
thank you. Molly.
Okay, you know me, I have several things, questions as well as comments. Um, Hannah, to piggyback off what you just said, I know that our own admin team at the state level, we've talked about for next year, for the next biennium, to part of our membership will be attending conferences within the state and having booths and connecting with people that way because all it takes is a handful of people. Now, again, piggybacking on what somebody else said about attracting our obviously our younger clientele. We have to be careful about our appearance. And just because you have gray hair doesn't mean you're elderly. I mean, I dye my hair because I've spirit-led consulting. And so I deal a lot with school districts that are very struggling and are going to be taken over by the state. But I'm very engaging in a Zoom. Of course, I have their attention because they're about this far away from being taken over. But nevertheless, I make it a point to be very engaging. That's just who I am. You guys know that. But on the other hand, we need to let our members know it's important when we're on Zooms that we don't look like sourpusses, that we don't look like we just had somebody unfortunately die in the family and we were forced to attend the Zoom meeting. Because it always strikes me when I'm looking at people, and I often look when I'm teaching my graduate classes, I'm looking at their expressions. I'm looking at what they're doing and whether they're engaged. And we need to be able to do that. But again, we are going to approach that in the next biennium in terms of attending conferences and having booths and wandering around and grabbing people and having those 5-minute elevator speeches. You know what I mean by that?
Sure.
We don't want to go for an hour. They're not going to stay with us for an
Right.
hour. But we need to have a 5-minute presentation and a pamphlet, a trifold that's easy to look at, easy to read, has links to it, because that is what they do. I think we need to, with our membership, we have to have that wraparound approach. You know what I mean by wraparound? That as you guys have worked so hard as an expansion committee, and I want that to continue. I want that to continue. Rest assured, because you have so much history behind you. You know what has worked, what has not. We want to sort of get that in writing, though, so we can have a document for future people as
Right.
well. But on the other hand, you know what has worked, what has not worked. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. I like how you've approached different states.
Well, we didn't want to reinvent the wheel either. We knew that
Yeah,
Stephanie Kagel was instrumental in getting her state growing again. So I
yeah.
mean,
Is that the California person?
yes.
Yeah, because I wrote that down.
I think she is now at the educational.
Educational Excellence Chair.
So, but I'm still assuming she's still the membership chair in California. No?
No.
Okay, so someone has taken over her spot.
She still works some with it, but and she can still help with it, absolutely. Yeah, she's given up that position in California as well.
Okay.
She had done it for almost 10 years.
Yes,
That was her
And
baby.
got 7 chapters. I mean, yeah, she's good at it.
very
I
good.
think when I talk about that wraparound, like you guys are mentioning these different things, if we recruit members, they don't have to necessarily serve on the expansion committee, although we do want to, mix it up some. But if we could think about the wraparound service, and so who can really investigate different states, You know, hey, Molly works in California, so why don't we ask Molly? Not really, but I mean, I do work in California, but you know what I'm saying? And then the other thing we want to I want to comment on is access to the school districts. Certainly, as a superintendent in various school districts, as a principal within those school districts, we have to find out who the gatekeepers are by name, by position, by email, by their social media, and approach that. Again, assigning someone to do that. But that's critical because I know myself, boy, there in a district with only 400 kids, I did it all as superintendent. But when I got to the 23,000 students, you know, everything was assigned and distributed out. So I think it's critical that we think about where are the gatekeepers in each of those school districts, because that will be key for us to gain access in multiple facets. Okay, so just something to think about. Love the mentoring comment. I'm all about mentoring.
Mhm.
Right.
That's how we're going to be able to reach a lot of them.
Right.
Is
Okay.
we can mentor, we can help.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Barb.
I know one of the biggest things that Daphne said when we were talking with her was, and she kept pushing this home, you have to mentor the new people, because if you don't, you'll lose them. And the other thing, like, I just had my DKG meeting this past Monday, and we had 3 active teachers who were there among us other retired ladies. And I said, okay, I'm going to open this up to you guys. What can we do? What do you want? And something that they talked about, career fairs, the ESCs, and every county in the state of Ohio has an ESC. The ESCs have job fairs. The ESCs have career fairs. Why can't we go to those career fairs and strut our stuff there? I mean, that would be a place where, a lot of people, young people, and I have to say the other thing too is in our chapter we have 2 collegiate members. And when this young lady came in last spring, the first meeting that she came and attended, her jaw kind of dropped open when she walked in the room because we're all most of us retired. And just the expression on her face, it was classic. And I'm thinking to myself, honey, I know what you're thinking, but don't, because this is just so much more than what you think you're seeing. It's the impression, the first impression and the impression that we give is very important.
Right. Right. I totally agree. And sometimes what you see is not not your first impression is not what it actually is. So yeah. Any other questions? Hannah, you've got an additional one?
Yeah, we have two new members, which we're struggling to even pay the dues. So people quietly have picked up their dues. So I think that's another thing. We talk about scholarships to go to school. Some of our members can't even afford the dues. So that's what we've done.
Okay. Patty, I'll let you have it again.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, don't be sorry. No.
Don't forget, they do not have to be classroom educators to
Right.
be
Right,
members.
exactly.
Right.
And you need to be reaching out to your public librarians, your yoga teachers, the teachers that teach at maybe your Sunday school teachers, if they're paid. The Constitution basically says if you are paid to educate even one student, you qualify. Your school nurses, your librarians, your paraprofessionals, if you have those in your classrooms, they all qualify. They don't have to have a degree in education. So, consider that, because often we miss those kinds of members, and they bring a lot of energy to a chapter with different kinds of programs
Right.
and different kinds of knowledge that a traditional classroom teacher may not have. So don't just look at the traditional educator.
And we pretty much preach that pretty
Good.
much from, you know, the
Good. I
expansion.
just hadn't heard that, so that's what made me think about it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, we've done a lot. And what helped us, believe it or not, was that first couple years was the pandemic. And so all we could do was meet, and I know we've met probably close to, would you girls say 50 times?
Oh my
At least 50? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right.
This has a question.
Okay, go ahead. Go
Go ahead,
ahead,
Chris.
Mindy.
I thought that I remembered, does OSO have money in the budget to help start a charter? Like that they would get a chunk of money to put in their treasury? Besides just whatever local dues that they decide to charge?
We would have to ask Diana about that.
Was that
but I-
ever approved or put in the budget?
We have $1,500 to work with to build a new chapter. Our committee does.
For your committee expenses?
Well, it was approved, maybe, when was it?
I remember.
Within the past 2 years, it was approved at one of the boards. But the thing is, when we had our first face-to-face meeting, we had over $400 in mileage.
Yeah, that's nuts.
I mean, that can destroy that's why we actually went to, I think the personal touch is important. But if we did a personal touch, we probably would have gone through all of the money that the state had given to us simply for the mileage. Because
Right, but
we
my
get
point is,
from around the state, we don't all live in a clump.
no, right. Your committee needs that money because that face-to-face is important. But I think if that it would be really good that OSO would have a fund that would be given to a charter, and obviously if they fold, they have to give it back to OSO.
Well,
but
sure.
a thousand or something for a new chapter, because I know in my chapter our budget covers my expenses as president going to state convention, because the hotel room and the registration can be quite pricey. And if you've got young members who can't even afford the membership fee, they're not going to be attending state convention or state leadership trainings or those kind of things. So just once you get those 12, together, if they are encouraged that they starting that chapter, they'll have a chunk of money to build on, and then they can cover these new folks attending leadership trainings and state events.
Right.
OSO has quite a hefty amount of money funded in investments that
Well, it would be money well spent.
we would,
Yeah.
we
Right.
would encourage that they might
Wrap it up.
set up a fund using some of that.
Mhm.
Donna, you had a question?
Yes. Well, it wasn't really a question. I think we were very wise in choosing you ladies to chair this committee. Lots of dynamics, lots of energy. And I think that's one of the things that's really going to have to come across to these younger teachers. I think depression is one of the biggest problems. The children are depressed and the teachers are even more so. Every day they read a letter or read something in the newspaper that's taking away some of their strength and some of their decision making, and changing what they thought was right is going to be different tomorrow. And
Right.
that is a huge consideration, because you're constantly under change, and what might be right for the kids isn't necessarily right for what your persons in charge are saying. So one of the things we're really going to have to do is encouragement in the sense of lifting these people up as to how wonderful you are and how, basically the old rah-rah stuff.
Right.
I'm saying, and that's not easy to do, but I think it's absolutely necessary because they're not getting it from anywhere else.
Right.
And when they walk into a Delta Kappa Gamma meeting, we're very pleasant, we're very outgoing, we're very greeting, but we're not cheerleaders, Those days for our energy have usually passed. But my point is, we've really got to be very encouraging. I think the mentoring is very important. The other thing is that they have so many stresses going into the profession that they're, plus the other thing is they're also working with people that are there for a full-time job that they're going to be leaving soon. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of turnover in young educators.
Oh, yeah.
So many leave within the first 5 years. Those people are there just to find a better job. You know what I'm saying? And when you're around a lot of people that are not taking their jobs as intimately as what we did when we started, because we had the luxury of really knowing what we were doing was appreciated and wanted. They don't have that feeling anymore.
No.
Diane, does your group have anything else to say?
I would like to say a couple of things. I think I really appreciate your committee. You mentioned that maybe you look older. Why don't you add a young member to that committee to help the face of the committee look a bit different? And the other thing I would like to see OSO do is add something to their strategic plan about developing members and supporting the expansion committee, both financially and with the rah-rah that Donna was talking about. I've asked to see the strategic plan. It's not on the website, so I really don't know if there's anything in there about expansion, but I really think it's important that there is, and that it's not just about what the committee will do, but how OSO is going to support that financially, because we do. The last voice that came out, I believe it was $284,000 in the treasury. Some of that should be spent to help new chapters and the expansion committee.
I think that's a great idea. I second the motion.
Even if it's just for mailings, there's a big difference between getting an email and getting a letter in the mail saying, hey, you're important. We appreciate you and we'd like to help you along the way.
Right.
But so is that personal contact.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
When some of you were talking about going to other state meetings, etc., we need to support the people that are going to do that.
Okay. Do we need to wrap this up, Beth?
Well, we do, but let's let Hannah say.
Okay.
I just
okay.
want to say one thing. Norma made me think we need to figure out how they get their information, because they may
Exactly.
not be reading something in print, but they may.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I can answer that because I've been looking at the Olentangy
Uh-huh.
local school district, which is in that Delaware County.
Yes, yes.
And they do not do paper notes
No.
anymore. Everything is through their communications.
Yes.
I mean, so I think we have to have a different mindset
Yep.
as to how we go about communicating, our information to.
Diana, that is so true. Like I said, I work with school districts. I don't send anything through the mail.
There's no paper trail anymore.
They send me electronic things, in a secured environment.
Right.
But with paper, no. Now that doesn't mean I don't print out things and mark things because I'm a PhD in statistics, but I still
Right.
like the hard copy. But yeah, I mean, all my communication and setting up things, etc., is electronic. It's just the way it is. And like I referenced, social media. I don't know of many superintendents, and I did that early on, that aren't on social media with their
Right.
accounts. So something for
Holly-
to think about.
We need to remember this generation was born with a cell phone in their hand.
Absolutely.
Right.
So,
They
Exactly.
don't know.
College students do not use email either.
Right.
No.
So
And
you,
it's getting so they don't text anymore either.
no. It really is a problem.
It is.
When you're the professor there and they don't read their emails.
Right.
So, all right, I'll stop.
Thank the committee. You did a great job, and I've taken down some great notes.
Yeah.
But I'm going to remember all of this. I have to say that I have a terrific chapter. Molly's in my chapter. And one of the things that we do is we became involved in projects that were not Delta Kappa Gamma. Like, for example, we stand at the Salvation Army kettles at Christmas. And that gets us a little bit of attention. And we put up our own sign that says we're the teachers. And people give to us because we are the teachers, and Salvation Army loves us. We also have just other projects that we do, pack the book bags, that kind of stuff. And again, that gives our members something to do. We're not just meeting for lunch or meeting for supper. But anyway, I want to thank all of you members. You did a great job. I want to thank our international visitors. Thank you for all of your information.
Absolutely.
And I'm hoping that we'll be able to report very soon that, yes, by golly, we've got a chapter in Delaware, or we finally got that chapter down there in Adams County going. And I really wish that we thought about making them state members, because on the 4th and 5th, we could have made them members at our state convention.
Right.
That
never occurred to me. You get tunnel vision, and I think that's where we were. We were in a tunnel, and we kept thinking the same thing over and over and over and again, until Barb tells me, now, Diana, here's what I think. So, which is fine, which is great. And can I say something before we close?
Sure.
I want to personally thank my team. They are wonderful people to work with. I mean, if I needed something done, Karen says, okay, what can I do? Linda's taking, we have everything documented. She is the best secretary ever. So, we've got meeting notes from day one until our last meeting. So, they are wonderful. Molly travels from here to Kansas, and she's always, I don't think you've ever maybe have missed one meeting. I don't know, but
I think so. But I'm a problem child.
Yeah, her problem. Yeah, she called me this afternoon and says, "Here's your problem child again. I can't find my link. It's not working." What? But anyway, but I love them. They are family to me. So
they
are great.
And I think that's what happens when those of us that have been around a while work together and count on being at the state convention together. Yeah, that's why most of us love this organization.
I'm coming back from Kansas to be there.
Yay!
Yes.
2 weeks.
How's that for long distance?
Yeah.
We're not paying you mileage, Molly.
Oh, okay.
And who's coming? Is it Cy Franco Stern is going to be your visitor? Is that correct?
Yes.
Good deal.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, that'll be good.
And you might see a cheerleading team.
That's okay.
You in the rah rah rah, sis boom ba. Come join our team.
Been a long time since I've done cartwheels.
Oh yeah.
Oh, all right.
And I also want to thank Kathy Tenney for arranging for our Zoom sessions.
Absolutely.
They have been very, very good, Kathy, and she's going to help us do our evaluations of our paid personnel in this next week. So we're going to keep her busy there too. So thanks, ladies. And
Patty, could you stay for just a minute? I've got a question to ask you.
Sure.
Okay.
Hannah, I need you to stay for just a second. I have a question to ask you.
Thanks,
Okay.
ladies.
Okay,
If you don't
bye.
mind, Diana.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye, you
thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for